Good morning. It is my timeline, April 5th, Monday. You know, I shouldn't say hate is a strong word. I don't like when I get so tired. I end up falling asleep in my clothes, makeup on, all the lights on. I need to stop doing that. But I was just so exhausted. Oh. I was so exhausted last night. Why was I sharing that? Yeah, because I woke up at 4:30 this morning, I was like, oh, all the lights are on. I'm still wearing the clothes from last night. Well, I mean, it changed clearly, but I need to stop doing that. But anyways, it was an interesting morning. It's been interesting. You know, I listened to MJ in Soulful Revolution, and I really like her, right? I mean, she's so cool. And so she posted a video this morning, and it's called The In-Between. Oh, it's funny, right? The In-Between. I haven't done a lot of like those in-betweens. I'm just like cranking them out, like spitting them out. Because I just want them out. And I don't know if I just want to catch up to my timeline. I don't know. I think the big part of it is more of just like, I want to get to where I can focus and reflect on this chapter. But it feels like I'm still, like, the lessons again are, not that the lessons are repeating, but what I'm seeing as I'm posting stuff, right, it's not repeated, but I'm seeing it in other people, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not so much seeing it in myself, being in it, but what I'm describing, I'm seeing it in other people. And so I mentioned that I'm cranking out like 2 videos a day, morning and evening. And initially I was doing that because I thought I was going to be done so that I can go back and kind of fine tune, right? Like Christopher Middleton's, and I just needed to fine tune some things, and I do. Like I learned how to do, like, use preview, and I guess that's what the program is called, to like add like the titles to the video image or whatever. So it's clear, like, you know, what chapters, what episode it is, if it's in order. And yeah. So I mean, I remember I got the sign to do that. I figured it'll blow up in my face if it doesn't. But anyways, so the funny thing was at MJ, and I'll post MJ's in the description box. Like, I always write stuff in the description box. If you don't look at the description box, I add more information in the description box, like a little narrative or something that I realized after the fact, you know, like, or links that I realized afterwards that I should have said and I didn't say. You know, like the t-shirt updates are always on the description link. I may not necessarily always talk about it or reference it, but it's there. And so, excuse me. So this weekend I cranked out like a good 4 videos out. And I mentioned how sometimes, like, you know, I've mentioned before this output of energy, right? Like, after I post it. And MJ, her message this morning was reflecting on what I posted this weekend, which is what I recorded a month ago on, what was it? It was on, I don't even remember now. Oh, confronting. Like what when you're nervous and you just need to confront, you know, like I had a whole, where my episode, chapter 15, episode 5, New Beginnings, that one? It was after the listening to my heart one, where I had all this repeated theme, life lesson of, you know, being waiting in traffic, waiting, and then realizing where my heart was, right? Needing gradual exposure is what it was called. Yeah, needing gradual exposure. And that's where I'm talking about, right? That how these triggers, I was getting triggered and needing, realizing, right? Okay, for me, how I've handled things, not to say everybody handles it this way, but how I handle things is charge right at it, right? To not be afraid, to just, that's how I overcome my fears, like, right? and the more I do that, right, the more exposed I am, the more I'm comfortable around it, where it doesn't scare me as much. So I've learned that. So that was one of the videos that I posted this weekend. And then I talked about, you know, reflection and replacing the old with the new. It's just weird to hear her speak about themes that I posted on. And I guess it's still repeated in my life. I mean, but it's funny because it's like the words that she's using are also words that I'm saying in my video. And the gradual exposure is still happening now, like as I'm working with Miss Hannah Frost and just, which of course I'll put her link again in the description box. You guys can follow her on Instagram and check out her webpage. But, you know, I'm gradually exposing myself to being more social, right? To interacting with everyday folks and you know, that skill set of like, how do I approach someone and kind of talk to them about the product, right? And then, you know, people that I've been talking to that have been providing support have been telling me, like, the more you are aware of the product that you're selling, in essence, you know, you'll feel more confident, right? Which is so true. Like, I'll feel more confident because, I mean, in my line of work, I know that stuff, so I feel confident when I talk about it. I mean, I might fumble with words and my memory of, like, I flip words around, or like sometimes I forget what the word is, but I'll know it. Like, I'll know what to do. It's just the vocabulary or the labeling of it, I don't know, or I forget. So I'm doing that gradual, I guess it is repeating the gradual exposure, needing gradual exposure to something new, right? Confronting my fears about that through this process of putting myself out there. Which is funny because I'm connecting with old friends and you know, I have one friend who was telling me, you know, he's just like, I what did he put? I could probably learn a thing or two from you and your ability to make change. I'm so very comfortable with my life. You know, like, we do get comfortable. And sometimes with our situation, with that sense of stability, but then we miss out on opportunities, right? Because I was sharing with him, I'm like, I got invited by Miss Hannah Frost to go to Tucson, Arizona and experience this other world that I had no idea existed. Well, I mean, I know it existed, but I never, one, had the time, two, it just, you know, like, these are just opportunities that are coming up. And it is, even that alone, right, is I was talking to my sister about it. I'm like, I'm struggling with it. I'm struggling with going. I want to go, and I'm gonna go. I need to text her. It's Monday morning. I was gonna text her. It's too early. I don't know what time she usually gets up. To confirm that I want to go next week, because it's next week for me. But just the idea of, like, oh, I'm gonna be around 3 other strangers, and just I need to push through that. I just need to, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, you know, 2 of those days are going to be travel days. It's only Monday through Friday. And then I thought, I was telling another friend, I was like, maybe I'll take my car and go with them so I don't feel so like I have to do everything with them. Like if I need a little space, I can take my space, but then I have to account for gas. Like, oh. You know, like I'm trying to be mindful. So I'm still thinking about it. She also talked about another concept that coincidentally, right? It was about being on your own and leaving things, leaving people behind. She talked about leaving people behind, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, right? She's talking about. I left a message I left one yesterday about me setting boundaries, me setting limits as to how much I'm choosing to interact with certain people, right, in my life. I you know, and granted, I was one that was always very much like, you don't spend time with me, you don't spend time with me. So I know how that feels, you know, to be on that side. Because one of my love languages is quality time. It just is. But, you know, at the same time, it's also touch and quality time. But at the same time, like it's ¿cómo se llama? Like I was trying to explain to this person, I'm just like, I have limited time. Like I have certain resources right now that I need to take advantage of, and I want to really, every moment counts. Every moment counts. And I don't, with this particular individual, I've made my peace with this individual where I don't feel like I need to spend so much quality time. This person might feel different because they're going through their own process, right? But I made it clear to this person. I shared the story of Orpheus and what I learned about my moon sign and my relationship with people in general, right? And it was funny because I didn't think about this the other day. Your moon sign is a relationship with your mother, but it's also representative of the relationships you have with other people, right? Which is the whole attachment theory, right? It looks at the bond between the mother and the child. And then it speaks to how you do relationships with life. I think I did another video on that a long time ago. And I'll post that in the link too if I find it. But yeah, just you know, I haven't heard back from this individual that I posted, so it must have hit home. It must have hit something for them to not respond quickly. And I was setting boundaries. I'm just like, I get that you want to spend time with me, but this is where I'm at, right? And I share, like, this is where I'm at, and this is what I can provide you, right? This is what I can offer you, and you know, if you're okay with it, you're okay with it, and if you're not, you're not. But I've learned through my birth chart reading, right? My Achilles heel is that I love too deeply, that I love too deeply, and that it can cause me to get stuck. And if I wait for people to catch up to me, that's my Achilles heel, me waiting for people to catch up to me. And so I just need to keep moving forward, right? Opportunities that come up, I'm gonna take them if it feels right. And even if it doesn't feel right, like if it's fear, if it's more out of fear because it's something new or something uncomfortable, I've already, my default response is do it. That's just, I trained myself, and I was trying to explain to this person, it's, you're restructuring how you look at life, right? You are restructuring how you respond to certain triggers. And so when things keep popping up, it's not that you're being defeated, it's that those are opportunities to continue to master the new lesson, the new skill that you're trying to implement in your life, the new perspective. So it's not like this, you can choose to look at it as I'm being defeated because it keeps coming up. No, look at it in another way, right? It's an opportunity. There are opportunities to master. That's what they are. Opportunities to master, not to feel defeated. But it's all about perception. People are going to choose to look at it any way they want. Anyways, I'm going off tangent. So she was talking about leaving people behind, moving on. Coincidentally, a friend of mine, we were having this conversation yesterday about how this friend is moving out from his family's home. Like, he's moved and family kind of follows him, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a bell. Ring, 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 ding, ding. Well, that sounds familiar. Where, I mentioned that as an adult, I moved around a lot. I don't, we never owned a home. It was, and family just kind of followed us. So we always lived with family, right? Because there was always a situation, there was always a crisis. Until I finally moved away, far enough away to the high desert, where they couldn't follow me anymore. They had to figure it out for themselves, really. And they did, totally did. And honestly, I feel like they felt a little more empowered that they were able to do that. But nonetheless, right, there's a certain, like, when something like that happens, right, you have to discern, like, is it helpful to have these people around me? Or is there a sense of being held back? Because I'm not saying that every time family moves in that it's going to hold you back. No, sometimes it's a positive thing. Like, I mean, when I moved in with my brother and my sister-in-law, that was like one of the best times in my life too, because we were helping. It was challenging. It was both challenging for me personally that time in my life, but at the same time it was so rewarding because we got to help raise my niece and my nephew, and we didn't have children, so that was like the next closest thing to children that we had, and we still have. Like, we have been a part of their life so much. And my brother actually sent me a text this morning that he had a dream that he and I I was helping him fight off a couple of, it's pretty intense, fight off a couple of serial killers inside the house, and it was just him, me, and the kids and the twins, and that I was helping to keep them safe. And he said it was a weird dream, but it made me realize and appreciate all the help you gave us with the kids when you lived with us, right? And so some are helpful, right, when family moves in. And then there's some cases where it's like toxic or like really intense, or where you have to put certain boundaries in or remove yourself from that situation. So my friend was sharing with me that he just decided to move out on his own for the first time. And I'm like, hey, I'm right there with you, right? Like, I'm on my own for the first time too. And just, he's excited about starting this next chapter of his life and being able to focus on, himself and have his space the way he wanted it, So I thought that was really neat that, he's doing that for himself, really. Because ultimately that's sometimes all we have to do, we can do, is sometimes we have to think about ourselves first, right? And how our environment is supportive or not, and unfortunately as kids, we're dependent on our environment, right? And sometimes we have to wait it out. We have to learn how to cope, really, because it's something that keeps repeating itself or bringing itself up in a situation where you don't have control, you don't have the means to really get out. Until you do. Until you do have the means to get out, and then you have a choice. Crossroads, right? Do I stay or do I go? So it's just interesting that she's repeating all this stuff that I posted on this weekend, that I'm also reliving to a certain degree, not to the same extent or the same intensity, but it's just occurring. And then even as this last video that I posted, it's just the same thing, how it's just weird, and I, in the description box, I put like, it's just, I laugh at it. I have to laugh at it because I'm just like, it's so, is it a coincidence? Could it be a coincidence? Yeah, of course it could be a coincidence. Another friend is a little more skeptical about stuff. A couple friends actually are a little skeptical about stuff, and I'm sharing my stories with them, right, catching them up, and they're just like, well, it could also not be. And I'm like, yeah, of course it could also not be, right? But how amazing would it be if it is, right? Like, yeah, we could look at it, in that perspective. I just choose to look at it as a synchronicity, as something that makes sense, patterns that are repeating. And then I'm telling them, like, what kind of dull story would it be if it was like, right? Like, I feel like my story is is more exciting and just entertaining, right? It's fun to look at life this way. And then even more so if it starts like unfolding, which it totally has been still. I'm telling you, I'm just like, I mean, it's just fun. It's just fun. So anyways, I put in the description box, you know, I wonder if there's anyone else out there who's doing or documenting in a similar manner, and if they see the same pattern like repeat itself. Like I wonder if these are all just like, you know, it's just repeating over. The cycles are just repeating all over, just in different ways, and until we stop and reflect, right, we won't know. But anyways, it's 20 minutes in, and I wasn't going to talk about that so much, but I guess that came out. I meditated today, and I didn't really see the wave. I saw the colors. I saw a lot of gold, I saw a lot of purple, but I saw a lot of images this time. And I don't know. It wasn't a lot of waves, but there was like it was like, there wasn't a lot of waves, but the light itself was just like glowing. And then I would get images, and I wasn't sure if it was just my daydreaming, but then these were images that I've never had before. Like I didn't even know like how to describe it, because it was a wide range of images that were popping up, and I, like the first batch, it felt the theme was depth, this sense of depth, and it was a lot of forest and green wildlife. And I remember there was a part where I was just looking up at the sky, and there was like green, like I could, like how it looked when I would lay down on by my tree and just look up. Just less trees, like the trees were just on the side, and I was just like looking up at the sky. But then I would get images of being in the forest, so there was like this depth, feeling of depth in that experience. And then it shifted to these other images, and the only other image that stands out. So I'm communicating with this person from Turkey. Just randomly decided to text me through Instagram. So I'm communicating. I'm feeling it out. There's a certain level of discomfort that I feel a little bit with some word choices, but I think it might be just a cultural thing. And you know, and I keep sharing, you know, with this individual. I'm like, I feel a little uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable with some of the word choices that you're using. And then you click right, I just want to get to know you better. I'm like, okay. That just kind of, you know, I think it's just the culture. I really feel it might be just the culture and the language barrier. But for whatever reason, like it was in an image that I had, and I'm in the driver's seat, and this person is climbing into my car, and I'm just like, so that was just the weirdest thing. And I was just like, why? And I just remember thinking, like, why is this person, it was just a weird image. He climbed into the car. And there were other images, but that one I think just stood out because it was the last interaction that I had before I meditated. But yeah, it was just mostly all images, and then there was a and then it would switch to the light again, and then more images. And I should have started with that first so I wouldn't forget. Dang it. But I don't know what that means. That they're not waves anymore, or at least not today. But I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna try to meditate again and see if it's anything is different, or maybe that's what it is. And then I'm gonna do my spread for the week, and yeah, just see what that's going to be all about. So I thought that was really neat. Again, coincidence. Yeah, you might look at it as a coincidence, or fate, or just the way things are unfolding. And MJ's message, which again I'll post, and yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have a good one. My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next.